All right, welcome back, baseball fans, to another elimination video eliminating the Atlanta Braves. What you're looking at is last year's stats in 2023. An Atlanta team that went 22-12, real high winning percentage, number one seed of the National League, but unexpectedly got knocked out in the divisional round as a number one seed by the wild card Phillies. So we have to start with the stats here. Hank Aaron won the MVP a year ago. 292, 19 homers, and 36 RBIs, almost outdone by his teammate Dusty Baker at 357. You have Davey Johnson hitting 13 homers of the 43 in our short little season. Obviously, you're going to get great offense out of the Braves, but 254 is a little on the low side, I believe. You had three guys below the Mendoza line there, all extra players, fringe extra players. As far as pitching goes, Tom House was effective. First year with that 74 card, as was Capra. 74 cards injected into the pitching staff. Took a lousy staff, made it a pretty darn good one. 386 ERA, 130 whip. Necro, however, 473 earned run average. Tom Kelly also struggled. George Stone, nice lefty, as a three-star, did fine. He did well. Now let's flash forward to what just happened in 2024. Well, one thing is they played a lot more baseball. The net wins and losses, they went a -8 games overall. They still made the playoffs, but they did it as a wild card this time because they slumped terribly to start the year. Basically, the first round knockout defeat to the Phillies carried over into the beginning of this season, and the slump continued. Then they got hot. Speaking of getting hot, Hank Aaron got hot. Hank was hitting 211 at the All-Star break, and so he didn't even go to the All-Star game. That's how bad Atlanta slumped. But then he just caught fire in the most torrid stretches we've ever seen in Strat-O-Matic. Ends up with 22 homers, 68 RBIs in 58 games. Holy smokes. Still just hit 274, but from where he started the season, that was incredible progress. Ralph Garrison 340 with that 74 card. Dusty Baker tailed off a bit this year. Darrell Evans. Davey Johnson really struggled with everything but the home runs. He had 11 of them, but he had 216, and his defense really was bad. I don't know why that happened. He was victimized a lot on the X's this year. Tom House got even better and really was the anchor and went to the All-Star as their closer representative. He was lights out closing games for them. 3 losses. He only allowed 6 earned runs all year. Bob Miller, that was a good sidekick. An old Bob Miller or young Tom House in this case. George Stone is quite a find if you're the Braves. You might want to hold on to him as not to belong to the New York Mets. Necro and Capra continued to pitch deep into games. But Necro's one-loss record is just kooky. 6 wins, 11 losses. My goodness. And nothing beyond that. So with that, let's take a look at the Atlanta Braves and see the dozen that are coming back. And you're going to be very impressed that Atlanta is ready to go. It turns out the 72 cards they had were probably the weakest cards on the team. So most of the names you just heard, you're going to see them right here. So here we have a DH, Frank Tabadino, one-way DH. This is a 304 hitter. There's Davey Johnson with his 43 home runs. My goodness. Darrell Evans with his 41 home runs. We have Marty Perez's best offensive year in 75. You see, he hits pretty good over here, folks. That's pretty good. Not so much over there. Better suited to be a second baseman than a shortstop, but he's got to wait till Davey Johnson retires or moves on. This is the Hank Aaron card. So his 71 card won the MVP 2 years ago. We rebooted him into the 73 card. It started really slow, and then all of a sudden he was just rolling 3 sixes like nobody's business in the postseason tournament and playoffs, finishing, like I said, 22 homers and 68 RBIs. Holy cow. And Ralph Garr is a batting champion. Hit 340 with this card, and it plays, you know, it's a 353 card, but chances are you probably will never hit 353 with it. The 340 will take. The pitching. Well, Negro, boy, he really got buzzed this year. He's good, though. Not a lot of home runs allowed, you know. And a lowest ERA of the decade for him, 238, 20-game winner. Here's Buzz Capra, the only starter 3 I'm aware of that doesn't have a hit on his card against a righty. I mean, even Doc Goodman with the 84-85 card had like a single chance, like single one line out. But you've seen closers do this, like Goose Gossage does the same thing. But you very seldom see a starter who's also pitching on 3 days rest, which is what Capra's doing. So it turns out just being okay against lefties was not good enough for the Braves. Teams just loaded up with lefties whenever they could. I mean, he's okay over there, but that's all he is, just okay. This George Stone card really played well for 2 years. 12-4 over the last couple years. Starter 7. Famous for throwing the pitch that broke Rusty Staub's arm. And then he ends up a teammate of Rusty Staub. Here's a free agent they signed to be the number 4 starter, Bill Grief. He was pretty good, actually. Padre, Cardinal. And then the season we just played, he pitched to a 4.61 ERA and a 1.43 WHIP, which is fine for a number 4 starter or a bullpen arm. And you've got this Mike Beard. Really good stats in 75. 4-0, 3.21 ERA, 70 innings. So the Braves were able to add the best left-handed relievers in consecutive years, 74 and 75 to the staff. There's House's numbers. And you got 3 lefties already. I mean, left-handed pitching is hard to come by, and you already got 3 of them. And, you know, you got 2 guys already pitching on 3 days rest, and you got the prime players in this offense. The only guy missing, I think, is Dusty Baker, and we'll probably bring him back. So, can Atlanta pick up where they left off and get back to the championship game? Of course. Of course. There's nothing notably significant missing from this from the 12 players here. A lot of those 8 players we'll see in the 72 analysis were just utility players and so forth. So let's take a look at that. The 8 players from 1972. Who does Atlanta keep, waive, and retire? All right, we're done. Take a look at the 8 players that are going from Atlanta. And we begin with Mike Andrews. Wasn't even associated with the Braves. Was a White Sox and a Red Sox from 67 to 73. He really tailed off in 72, by the way, with a 220 average. But he had a nice on-base percentage, and it was a 2 at first base, so Atlanta got him to be a platoon with Frank Tepedino, but they don't really need him anymore, obviously. And that was a full season, by the way. You see the 602 plate appearances for Andrews. 73, he spends time with the White Sox and A's. To give the guy waivers, we have to have a Strat-O-Matic card for the first year, 73. So we'll look under either the White Sox or Oakland for Mike Andrews. Going to Gary's roster sheets, superds.tripod.com. And we got to find a Mike Andrews under the White Sox or Oakland. And looking in the infielders, there he is. He's with Oakland. So, that card was made. So going back to the Braves, they can put him on waivers, knowing that a card is available. Have to have a card available to be a waivered player. Next player is probably the best player we're going to see in this lot. This is Dusty Baker. And they aren't ready to get rid of Dusty quite yet. No, I don't think so. 72 would be the best year for him in Atlanta, though. See what Atlanta had here? No, he doesn't. The 72 year in Atlanta, boy, 888 OPS, 321, 22 on MVP. You gotta wait all the way to 1980-81 to get more MVP votes. 73, he's got an 813 OPS. Then you have 4, 5, and 6. You know, Dusty has a little bit of a lull here, doesn't he? And then he kicks it back into gear in 77. Well, kind of makes sense to run it back at least one more year. Take that 73 card. That's a good one. Yeah, you know, and then, yeah, they'll keep him. Plus, he's still playing center field. We don't have other center fielder. Right now, it's just Hank Aaron and Ralph Garr. So until we find somebody else to play center field, not named Dale Murphy, he doesn't come around until a lot longer. Maybe the Roland Office will come along. The Roland Office era will begin for Atlanta. But anyway, yeah, we're going to run back and go get Dusty Baker. Makes sense. So he goes into column 1, and he gets $10,000 to come back to Atlanta. The way this works is that these numbers help count out how many guys are being kept, waived, and retired. You keep a guy, you give him $10,000, put his value in the blue column. Put him on waivers, give him $100. In a hotel room, you want to retire a guy because his career is over, you give him $1 and a bus ticket and let him find his way home. Okay. Next up, Rico Carty. Now, this is a really interesting career of Rico. Really long and interesting, and lots of twists and turns in the Rico Carty career. There's no 68. Yeah, there's no 71. In between that, there was outright destruction of the National League. 342, 366. So we just played the 72 card at a 780 OPS. Then he's going to spend 73 all over baseball with the Rangers, Cubs, and A's. You add it all up, it's not a particularly good year, is it? It's a 609 OPS. 74, he must have gotten hurt with Cleveland. Puts out incredible numbers, but guess what? They're not going to make that Strat-O-Matic card because there's not enough plate appearances. Okay, let's keep going. 75, he's now with the Cleveland Indians, and now he's putting a couple of nice years together. 308 and 310, 800 OPSs, not as much power. Later into the decade, in 1978, he hits 31 home runs. So yeah, he is really an adventurous one here. He is no longer property of Atlanta after 1972, is he? Texas, Chicago, Oakland, Cleveland. So here's the scenario. This is how it works out. See, they're going to go into the offseason saying they want to keep Rico Carty. Nudge, nudge, say no more. But they're really going to trade him. And what's going to happen is teams are going to go, but Atlanta, you already have too many guys you want to keep. We'll just wait till you put them on waivers, and we'll get them for free. We won't have to trade you anything. So that's the practical result that will happen. Next player is Paul Casanova. I think he's Raul Casanova relative. Do we want to say that here? Maybe? No? No. We're not saying that. Okay. Wasn't there a R-A-U-L Casanova? Yeah. Oh, from 96 to 2008. That's a long career. They're not related, though. Oh, no, he's not. He's from Puerto Rico. Gotcha. And he's from Cuba. They're not related. Just very similar spelled names. But anyway, big catcher, 6'4". Played from 65 to 74. 72. His first year in Atlanta is the card we just played. And then he's got a couple more cards with the Braves that are about the same. neither here nor there. Just because he's an Atlanta Brave doesn't mean you have to keep him. There's a lot of players who aren't in this league, obviously, who don't make the cut, and this could be a case here. He should have a full season in 73 with 248 plate appearances. Strat should make the card. Let's go see if it exists. Yeah, there he is. All right, so he exists for the 73 card. So just like we did with Mike Andrews, let's put him on waivers. I have a strong feeling that if you really want this guy, you can find him pull him off the waiver wire. You know, yeah. But he's just not worth a prized keeper spot. Plus, we've been seeing there's a lot of teams with keepers with no space to keep them, which means that teams want to make trades for those guys before they end up on waivers, and anybody can get them. So, next guy is Bobby Floyd. I think he's a one-year wonder. Great name, Bobby Floyd. Sounds like a baseball name. He's the only Bobby Floyd out there, though. See that? The only Bobby Floyd. Here he is. From 68 to 74. Starts with Baltimore. Doesn't have much of a stick. He used the 72 card, which is his career high in plate appearances. They're not going to make that 74 card. It would be bad anyway. Does he have a card for the 73 Royals? Let's go check that out. If he doesn't, he has to go in retirement. So we're looking for... They're probably not going to make this. I'm just looking at this right now. You know, they're really careful who you give 333 batting average cards to. And they'll look at the 84 plate appearances and go, nah, not him. But let's go check it out. Kansas City Royals 73. Looking for Bobby Floyd. Infielder, outfielder if we wish. Not there. We go down to the extra players down here, and he's not there. Was there a second team in 73? No. Nope. So he is retired. Thank you, Bobby. We got a year out of you. It's time to move on. So we give him $1 and a bus ticket out of Atlanta. He can hitch a ride with the little feet guys in the semi, I guess. All right. Next up, Johnny Oates. Mares eat oats, Johnny Oates. Baltimore had 3 left-handed hitting catchers in this era. They had Clay Dalrymple, Johnny Oates, and Elrod Hendricks. And 72 Baltimore card is the one we used. Pretty good. It was a 261 card, and Atlanta got more out of it than Baltimore did. So 73 is when he gets to Atlanta after the trade with Baltimore. Numbers start to dip. That card will exist. When you're over 300 at bats, you'll have a card. Yeah, he's in baseball all the way to 81. Some years he has a card, some years he doesn't. But for now, let's keep him. You know, I know the numbers aren't fantastic, but hey, left-handed hitting catcher. Teams love left-handed hitting catchers. So for now, let's keep Johnny Oates. Worst case, we find 2 more guys we like better. That's 6 hitters, and now we just have 2 pitchers to analyze. Beginning with Ron Schuler. Ron Schuler. 72 to 79. With the Phillies most of the time, I think. Atlanta, Philadelphia, Minnesota White Sox. Okay. So we took this card with 144 innings. 125 whip would be the lowest whip until 76, when he's a reliever with the Phillies. Pitches on 3 days rest for the Phillies in 74. Interesting. So there is the theory we've always used that one way of beating your opponent is to take their players. So Atlanta could just snub the Phillies and say, we want to hold on to this guy. In much the same way the Cubs have held on to Fergie Jenkins, and we saw that recently with the White Sox hanging on one of their stars. Oh, hanging on to Tom Bradley, possibly. But, yeah, the numbers aren't really that amazing. But for now, let's just make him a keeper. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of keepers. He's got a lot of baseball in him. And I think he's just too good presently to put him on waivers. You don't normally put a guy on waivers if he can pitch on 3 days rest with an ERA below 4. He's got some quality in him. So we're going to keep him. And the last guy is Bob Miller. And I think he may be done here. Bob Miller. How many World Series rings did he get? How many Bob Millers are there? So we got to figure this one out. It's this one? Or is it this? No, it can't be that one. You got to play it till at least the 70s. That one. No, it's this one. Got a Pirates hat on, Dodgers hat, then a Pirates hat, Dodgers hat, then a Cubs hat. You got the Pirates in here somewhere? Yeah, okay. So, yeah, here's a long career of Bob Miller. Starting in 1957 at age 18, Cardinals, Mets, Dodgers, Twins, got a World Series ring with the Dodgers in 65. Then they lost to Baltimore in 66. He's on the Twins when they win the American League West. Cleveland, the White Sox, the Cubs, the Padres, the Pirates. Okay, but here we go. Let's just, right there. Boom. Oh, yeah, there you go. See that? Yeah, right there. Just a little bit of a World Series ring to it. So he gets a Pirate ring in 71, and he comes back with this great 72. 73, he is with the Padres. He's with the Tigers. He's with the Mets. And then he's with the Mets again in 74. This 74 Mets card exists. I just remember it. However, you have to put the guy on waivers with a card in the first year, which is 73. So he's got to have a card here in waivers. Before we do that, I want to see his postseason pitching and the rings. Did he get... Here we go. So 63, give him a ring. Didn't pitch. 65, pitched the inning and a third. Give him a ring. 71, pitched 4 2/3. Give him a ring. Give him 3 rings. 3 rings, Bob Miller. 14 2/3 postseason innings. 3.07 ERA. 2 losses. But otherwise, yeah, Bob Miller. There you go. How many guys do you know with 3 World Series rings, right? All right, step 1, waivers. Did they give you a card with the Padres, Tigers, or Mets? Oh boy. Bob Miller, Padres, Tigers, Mets. Padres, Tigers, Mets. Padres, Tigers. Let's start with the Tigers. There's no Miller there. There's a Hiller, but no, not a Miller. And Detroit here, Brown, Howard, LeGros, Sherman. No Miller there. Then we have the Padres and Mets, right? Padres. No Miller there. Padres. Jones up there. No Miller there. And then the Mets only pitch 1 inning, but sometimes they do kooky stuff and just stick them on a team that needs a guy. No Miller there. Mets. No Miller there. That is the answer to the question. So you're wondering, well, what happens to that 74? Well, no nameless card either. Right? Right. So, in this situation, going back to Bob Miller, he's out of baseball in 73, even though he actually pitched 73 innings with a 367 earned run average, went 4-2 with a 131 whip. That would have been a nice card. Doesn't exist, though. Probably does exist in the reissue set, if you're playing that. But I play the first editions here. So that card doesn't exist. 74 card does exist for the Mets. And the theory goes is that if you really want that card, you make him a keeper and select it. But the question is, do you really want to make him a keeper, or do you just want to let him go into retirement and he could come out of retirement with that card? Really quickly, it's a 164 whip. I don't think so. I think you just let the guy retire. So for Bob Miller, they're going to ask you to go into retirement. And but we have seen each and every draft, guys are selected off the retirement list, meaning that they still have a card for situations like this. A player is retired for ineffectiveness, meaning the card exists in 73, but it stinks. Or a player is retired because he didn't play at all in 73, but he might have a card in 74, 75, or 76. This is the case of Bob Miller. So this is how the retired list will have a handful of players on it. It won't be as deep as the wavered list, which is going to have 64. But there'll be, maybe a dozen or so guys on a retired list that will be perused in the draft. So that gives Bob Miller hope of getting back into the league. So if the offseason were to begin right now, the Braves would be ready because they have the correct number of keepers, waves, and retires. 4, 2, and 2. You want the number here, 40202. That adds up 40,202, like that. That's exactly how it adds it up perfectly. So with that, it means that the overall, once we add the 30th team here, the net math stays exactly the same. We have an abundance of keepers with the World Series teams left. We've got the Reds and the A's still have to play the World Series. But we've got 19 guys so far on the keeper list and won't be kept, meaning that they're going to go over here to waivers, all 19 mostly, and then 2 of the worst waived players get kicked over into the retirement column. So this is good news for our league because we want good quality players on the waiver list. And we're going to have some in the next year, the 73, 74, 75, 76 carryover league. All right, thanks for checking out this analysis, and we'll see you next time.